We might not get Christian today, depending on timing of childcare and stuff. I'll give it a couple more minutes. We only have 4 of us so far. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to the last CBOR call before the IETF 117 session. Let me hit the agenda here. So I guess there's, since I put the time tag thing on the agenda after starting to discuss it with Karsten, we've sorted that out. It was already decided a while ago, and it just sort of hung. So Karsten just posted a couple of updates to time tag, and I will process it and send it off to the IESG. So I don't think we need any further discussion on that. Does anybody want to say something? All right, so that's going to the IESG as standards track rather than informational now. Okay, packed. Karsten, you want to say anything?
But I was trying to say something about time tag. So I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
wondering whether we will have a picky AD, which reminds us that after changing the target status, we have to do another working class call.
Well, yeah, I don't think we do. I think we have working group consensus on the status change. But if you would like me to do another working group last call, I will be happy to. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think we can do this in parallel with other things we need to do before submitting, right, doing the write-up and so on. So I think it's time well spent. And I would
Okay.
probably do it to make it a 1 week call, because there's no reason to have a 2 week. So people can look at the last changes, people can look at the status change, and
Sure.
if we don't get anything, we are really clean.
Happy to do that, and I will do that after this call. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, Marco, that's that last exchange was for time tag. So I'm gonna move those. So for packed, anything to say, Karsten?
Yeah, pretty much what the agenda says. So this is now well hung, as you would say about a stick. And I think that we have been waiting for implementations, and we haven't got a lot of feedback from implementers, probably because there are still things that might change, so people are not implementing it, and we have the usual uh, vicious cycle here. We still have a couple of things to do, and one of those is actually implementing what we said in the discussions, that we would simplify the table setup even more. We have a stable part of the document that defines the table reference tags. And we have a part we have been fuzzing around a bit with the table setup. And by putting one table setup tag there, that makes the whole thing immediately usable, but not necessarily exactly what you want for a specific application, I think we would be doing the right thing. So I think further simplifying that to do parallel setup of the shared and argument tables would make it easier for people to write basic packers. So I think that would be a good thing to do. And I hope to have the text for that done before the weekend, and I hope also I have an implementation of that, so that there is the CBOR packed gem, which is not the best packer in the world, but it can be used to play around with the format. So my hope would be to have a document that we can look at, and an implementation we can look at before the cutoff. And if there's any last minute change, we can do even that. Now the question is, after having modified the document a lot since the 12 months ago working class call, this actually may really be a candidate for another working class call.
Yeah, I certainly think that's the case. So you'll let me know when it's ready, or is it ready now?
Well, again, I want to submit another version in the next couple of days,
Right.
and then we should be ready for working class call.
Good. Okay. Any discussion about that? Anybody have anything to say? Okay. I had missed the last call, but I saw in the notes that there was some discussion about CDDL 2.0. Is there any discussion of that we need to have this time before the session coming up?
The only new thing right now is that we now have working group documents on these. And my plan is to get the document that has little changes and corrections, in particular errata corrections, get this done very soon, and then do the other two documents, I think mostly in sequence, because we can do the control operators pretty independently from the actual module structure. So I think we have three things we should be doing, and we can do the errata plus clarifications stuff very quickly. And the other two probably could benefit from some discussions in San Francisco and then in new versions of the documents.
Okay. Any discussion of that now?
So
Nope.
I don't think any of the people who actually wanted to use CDL2 features are in the call right now. Note that there are also some features that have been implemented that don't necessarily need standardization. So, for instance, the degenericizer or the mechanism that has been called flattening. These are two functions of the CDLC tool that actually can be very helpful when writing implementations, but that don't need standardization in that sense, because it's kind of obvious what these things are doing. So that's another thing I would like to get feedback from, but not necessarily for changing a document.
All right. Then I think we can move on unless somebody wants to say something else. Okay. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we get to the 117 agenda? Okay. Hearing nothing, let's move on to the 117 agenda, which Christian posted here, and he is on the call, as he says, listening with one ear. So let's have a look at the agenda, and so I think we can remove time tag from the agenda as well. Well, let's leave it on the agenda for now, and I presume it will just get the brief 1 week last call and go to the IESG, and we can take it off the agenda later.
Yeah, basically that section, brief overview of documents not discussed today. Those two are in there with 2 minutes total. So this is basically just one of us saying that, hey, by the way, this is in the state that it is now.
Yep. Okay, and then we have a discussion of the working group documents, the literals, and EDN literals, and the CDDL2 documents. And then the DNS-CBOR and DCBOR stuff. So Karsten has some notes on this. Karsten, you want to talk about your notes?
I don't have notes. Christian has notes.
Oh, sorry, CA notes, not CB notes. I got the I got the initials wrong. Yeah. So does anybody think this agenda needs tweaking, or are we set on the agenda?
Looks good to me. So on the double question mark, the EDN literals actually is the next one after PACT on my list. So I have a grammar. I still have to translate this to ABNF. But since I'm actually writing tools that help me in translating things to ABNF, I think that should be doable pretty quickly. I just need to get around to it, and that will most certainly happen before the cutoff.
Good. Okay, so I think we have a set agenda for San Francisco. Any other discussion on that agenda? Okay, hearing nothing, is there anything else we need to talk about today, or is this a very short call?
I'd like to briefly bring up one of my two note items from before that comes back to PACT, for which I've read up the notes, and I think it hasn't been mentioned. We had some discussion about CBOR tags standing in for concrete other values, which PACT is the prime example of. But I failed to find that discussion. Has that concluded? Is there anything more that we want or need to do on this, or just continue discussion on this? Not having found it, I'm having a hard time reading that up.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea to write this up. I think we have had the discussion, and I think we have examined the space between pure syntactic validity that is what 7049 did, and a totally semantic validity, which is really hard to get interoperable. And we have decided that we want to go a little bit beyond pure syntactic validity, but keeping in mind that doing too much of this can be detrimental for interoperability. So we want to have a rather limited set of places where this stand-in mechanism actually is operating. And I think we need to write that up. I think it's more like a memo to our future selves when we design new features, that we have started using this functionality. I mean, finishing PACT kind of opens the can. We are not going to put back the lid on that one. But that we want to be careful about doing things that are too wild with it, because that essentially forks the CBOR ecosystem in many micro ecosystems, some of which are doing stand-ins for something, and some of which for something else, and so on. So to summarize this, writing an informational document as a memo to our future selves is probably the right thing to do.
Sounds good to me. And that would be information informally referenced by PACT, or would that just be like?
I don't think we will finish this before PACT is finished. So PACT just charges ahead and is then the example that we will use in that other document to say that if we do something like this, it will be a infrastructural specification, and we don't want every single tag definition to come ahead and say, "Hi, I'm also kind of like a number, so I can be used everywhere a number can be used." I think these are the two extremes. We can have purely syntactic validity, and totally opening the barn doors.
Makes sense. I like the idea of memo to our future selves. Yes. Okay. Any other discussion? Any other topics? Okay, I guess we've kept this to 20 minutes.
Great.
So we will see many of you in San Francisco. And Christian is not planning to be in San Francisco, but you are planning to be in Prague, right?
Yes.
Same for me.
So it'll be good to see you in Prague and see the rest of you whenever. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.